Okay, everyone, thanks for joining. We're going to go ahead and get started here. There will be a few last people logging in, and that is okay. They can watch here from the start. So first, I want to just talk real briefly about the challenge here and the success that we've been seeing. So as of right now, we've been now going for about 4 weeks or so since March 15th. And we now have documented at this point roughly $216,000 worth of gross commission that has been created from CMAs that have been sent out and listings that have been created from that. So up to $216,000 within a 4-week period of time of listings that those agents may not have gotten. They may have gotten them. Hopefully they would have, but they may not have. So super, super exciting. The challenge is working, and that's the CMA side. Of course, we've had awesome speakers that have been speaking to us and absolutely love who we have today. And so that was really the glue that we wanted, was to have the speakers to where we have everybody coming back on a weekly basis. We can share stories of how things are going. So anyway, so let me kick off here and read. Where's my document? Okay. So you can tell I'm an awesome pro at this. I've got it down. So welcome to the 2023 CMA-A-Day Challenge Lecture Series. I'm your host, Walt Schultz with Canopy Mortgage in Salem, Oregon. Before I introduce today's speaker, I wanted to remind everyone to keep your mics muted, please. We've had problems with that in the past. We'll be taking questions at the end of our conversation, so please drop in the chat any questions that you may have. The session will be recorded, and I'll put that in the CMA-A-Day Facebook group, and we'll also send those out to those that have attended. I wanted to introduce the mortgage professionals that have invited a lot of the agents here, and that would be that originally started in the challenge. We've got Anne Marie Edwards out of Massachusetts. We've got Dixie Sanders out of Texas, Drew Ebner out of Ohio, Elizabeth Smith out of Florida, Heath Goodrich, South Carolina, Josh Blair, New Jersey, Lou Graham, Colorado, Scott Smith, Utah, Sean Herrero, California, Steve Calabrese in Florida, and then Susan Dunphy on my team here in Oregon. I want to introduce Spring Bengtzen, and I hope I'm saying your last name correctly, right, Spring? So
yeah, yes, it's just spelt ridiculous, but that's why I go by Spring B, because nobody can pronunciate it. So there you go.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So I have the privilege of meeting Spring. I've been chatting real briefly at a conference that we were at just a couple months ago in Las Vegas. It was the Modern Mortgage, Modern Real Estate Summit, where I was able to hear from Spring and hear her story. And that was probably the second time that I had the privilege, or third time that I had the privilege of hearing from her. This event was a live event. There were about 50 of us that were there. And then we were broadcasting out to 2,000 or 3,000 mortgage and real estate professionals. So I had an opportunity to hear her story, which I absolutely fell in love with, and loved how she just overcame adversity and then really has built her practice to what it is today. So Spring is currently running one of the top real estate teams in Utah. Her team is the Utah Life Real Estate Group, which has sold over 600 homes last year. Over the last 4 years, Spring has grown her Utah Life team from 7 to 70 agents, which is incredible. Runs an international team of 14 and collaborates with over 15,000 agents from across the country, in her real network. Since 2020, her team has doubled their production every year, and most recently ended 2023 Q1 with over 200 homes sold, quickly positioning them to become one of the top real estate teams in the country. In 2022, Spring launched her own title company, Meraki, and her own coaching company. So of course, she's one that has no energy to do much of anything in her life, right? So thank you so much for joining us today, Spring. It's a privilege and honor to have you.
Oh, thank you for having me. You guys, I love that Walt's doing this. It's interesting. because I look at the relationships I have on my mortgage and title and different things. And the vendors or relationships I've chose to have throughout my career have been because they've created massive value. All of them have been because they've helped me grow. And so while I love that you're doing this for people, because there's one thing about being like, I'll take you golfing or to lunch. That's great, whatever. Anybody can do that. But the time and effort that you've put reaching out to your network across the United States to bring value to your community is amazing. So I just want to give you hats off to that.
Thank you.
Like mad respect for you on that.
Thank you.
So I love doing these webinars. They're fun. But there's nothing worse than like listening to somebody for 45 minutes and you're just staring at them. So I'd love for this to be interactive, as well as the us going back and forth. So I'd love if you drop in the chat a 1 if you've received value so far. So let's blow up the chat with, if you receive value, drop a 1, let Walt know that you've like been loving this. What your biggest takeaway has been so far. I'd love to see that too. If you drop in the chats throughout the next 45 minutes to anything that resonates or that like hits you would be great. So when Walt reached out to me, thank you, Claire. I love that you guys, yes, the chat's blowing up. Definitely a 1. Thank you. Yes. Keep it going. So when Walt reached out to me, he just said, hey, I want to provide value to my network, to my community. I heard you speak. Would you join us? And I said, yes. What would you like for me to speak on? And he said, well, whatever you think could help them go to that next level or help them take some market share. So today I'm going to share with you guys how you can take market share in this market. My team, as Walt mentioned, we did 600 transactions last year, but so far this year, we have over, last I looked, 450 units. So we're on pace. We have over 60% growth this year in 2023, and our market has been down by 40%. So to have a 40% decline in the market and us be up by 60% is massive. So I'm going to be sharing with you guys exactly what we're doing. It's not rocket science. So I do want you guys to come into this with an open mind, because what I'm going to be sharing with you guys, you've probably heard before, but maybe this might ultimately change something for you, or something might click and you might be like, oh yes, this is what I need to help in my business. So first of all, drop in the chat a 1 if you'd like to make more money. So blow up the chat with 1 if you'd like to make more money this year. Yes. Judy, Trish, Donna, Claire. Yes. See, yes. Okay. How many of you guys want to take more market share? 2. Drop in the chat 2 if you want to take some more market share in this market. This market is prime for those who want to work, can absolutely freaking crush it, and can take market share. I think Tom Ferry posted yesterday, I think on a sponsored ad, that like 1 in 3 agents is dropping out of the business. Like every, I don't remember what it was. It was like every like minute or 90 seconds. I'll find it. I was like, holy crap. Are you kidding me right now? It's insane how many people are dropping out of the market. And so what that means for you is the agents that are dropping out of the market, this is your opportunity to be able to take market share. Fun fact. So prior to the pandemic, there were roughly about 5 million homes sold annually across the United States of America. That was just known number. It would hit around that 4.8 to 5 million. The pandemic hit and home sales went up to 6.8 million homes sold in the US. So homes went, like, how many homes went up by like 20%. So now that that's over and home sales have gone back down, my market now has stabilized. We're at 20%. I don't know where your market's at. We're down by about 20%. I'm assuming some of you guys are in that 20 to 40. The reason I share with you this one thing is because, yes, homes were selling like crazy. And yes, this dropped, but all it did was drop back to where it was. All it did was go back to the normal United States of America real estate market. So that alone is to let you know, like, hey, the sky is not falling. It's just different. And so, since we're going to be spending the next like 30 minutes with each other, are you guys cool if I tell you a little bit about my story and why that comes into play for me? So, I am born and raised in Utah, and Utah is is amazing. It's beautiful. And the culture here, when I was growing up, is that you get married really young and you have a family really young and you have babies. You guys have 5 kids. So just so you know, it's just the world that we lived in here. But when I was 19 years old, I was dating a gentleman and I just had moved in with him. And the reason I tell you the young part is it's kind of young to live with somebody at 19, 20 years old, but I just had moved in with him, and he had a boat that he kept in Lake Mead, which is in Las Vegas, for the winter time. And during the summer, he brought it up to the lakes up in Utah. So he came home from work on a Friday and said, hey, let's go grab the boat. It was 4th of July weekend. Let's bring it home. And I was frustrated. I was like, do you think I really want to drive all night long to Las Vegas to go grab a boat? Like, that sounds horrible. But when you're young and in love, you're like, sure. And we do that when you're like, okay, I'm just going to drive all freaking night. I watch my kids now and they do the stupidest shit that I'm like, it's just young and dumb and fun, you know? So we rallied up a few of our friends and we went and drove down to Lake Mead for that weekend or that night. And we launched the boat. And when we launched the boat, it was a large one, like with a cabin cruiser that you have a downstairs and had a generator and an air conditioner and stuff. And in the middle of the night, we launched the boat at like 2 a.m. and the generator stopped working. Like, we were playing in the water. It was like 118 degrees that day. So we had the air conditioning on, and at night it was like 100 degrees. But so Corey said, hey, let's go, we'll go to bed, and in the morning we'll go get some gas and we'll talk to the mechanic at the gas dock and see what they have to say. Mind you, the boat had been in the service shop for the generator at that marina at Las Vegas Bay Marina. So they were familiar with the boat. They'd been working on it. So we end up going to get gas, and I put gas in the boat, and Corey went to go talk to the mechanics. And when I was putting gas in the boat, I was like, this boat's disgusting. Like, it's dirty. Like, the mechanics had grease on it. They left it out all winter. So I took a hose and I like sprayed it off. And there were some guys in the back that were hanging out, and I sprayed them down too, just as a joke. And I took a hose and I went like this over my head, and because it was really hot. And so what ended up happening was he said, hey, come back. We'll go check out the boat. The mechanic said to push it over, come over here, and they'll look at it. So they push us off the gas dock. And when they push us off the gas dock, mind you guys, it's 4th of July weekend. So it's crazy. There's so many boats around. And they push us off the gas dock and the boat won't start. And and without having it started, there's no power. And without having power, you don't have any steering. So we're just floating, trying not to hit all these boats in the gas dock in the marina. So Corey was paying attention to that. In the meantime, the gentleman at the back lifted up the engine compartments because they were like, what's going on? And there was fluid at the bottom of the engine compartments. Well, I assumed it was water because I just had taken the hose and washed everything and squirted them off. But the engine started to rev and the belt started to go really fast. And so the guys told me, they said, hey, you probably should move just in case something flew off, this would hurt you. And so I went and I took the checkbook. That's how long ago it was, 20 years ago. And I went to go put it away from paying for the gas. And I walk past Corey and I get down two steps and I'm like, it smells like gas. And he didn't hear me. He was just focused on not hitting other boats and stuff. And so I continued to walk down the stairs, not knowing, I just didn't know gas fumes exploded. And so when I walked down the stairs, I heard them say fire. And so when I turned around right then, when they said fire, all of a sudden the boat just went, and the entire boat blew up. And when I say blew up, I don't mean like blew up as in like a little fire in the back. I mean, blew up as in like the top flew off, the girl laying out flew in the air, landed on her back. The guys in the back flew up, landed in the water. And so I ran out of the boat and I was like, I'm burning, I'm burning. And I jumped in the water and I pulled myself over. I swam over to the gas dock and I pulled myself up on the gas dock. And you guys know like what a hot dog, like that's burnt, or a marshmallow, it's just that like black, gross, like my skin was just black hanging off, like just hanging off of me. And I sat on that gas dock in 118 degrees without any skin, waiting for life flight. That was probably one of the most painful things I've ever experienced. But the reason I tell you this story and how it plays applicable into my career is about 2 weeks into the burn unit. If anybody of you ever burned your finger or something, the curling iron or whatever, that it hurts like craziness, right? And so they had me in the burn unit. They had me in there and I was pretty much drugged heavily because it is so painful. And because I jumped in the water, I got a blood infection. I ended up having because I didn't have any skin, I jumped into dirty lake water. I ended up having a collapsed lung, pneumonia, all these things. So a few weeks in, I'm not doing so hot. And in the burn unit, I was in a shared room at that time because they didn't have any space for me to have my own room. And the woman that I was in the burn unit with, she died. And she was a sweet little old lady that had a burn like this size on her hip, that she fell into the bathtub and her water was turned on too hot. And that burn ended up having her pass. But what happened is just like in all the movies and everything, every siren, light, everything starts going off. And I'm like, what is going on? And I remember like everybody flooding into my room and I'm like, am I dying? Like, what is happening? Because mind you, like they keep you extremely drugged. And when I asked him, I said, am I dying? And he said, no, it's your choice. You get to choose if you live or die, but if you choose, make it exceptional. And I just remembered at that moment of like, boom, like, I haven't seen who I marry yet. I haven't seen who my kids are. I haven't and it just something clicked. And that click happened that it was like, wow, this is my choice. I really want this. And fast forward throughout the burn unit, like I ended up 3 or 4 days later, getting more aware and starting to recover. And you guys, you're supposed to be in the burn unit 1 day for every percentage your body is burnt. My body is 85% burnt. So I'm a big giant scar. You can't tell my face. The reason I told you a story that I wet myself down was that water saved my face because I took the hose and my hair would happen to be wet. And so everywhere that was wet, which was my swimming suit, didn't burn. So the only parts of my body that didn't burn were my private parts that were covered by a swimming suit. And same with the gentleman. I took the hose and the hose, I squirted them off. That saved them as well. It saved that the swimming suits just the flames singed up their legs, but it stopped the burning right where their swimming suit was wet. So it's crazy how life works and the blessings that come if you choose to look at it that way, of the different things. I tell you this story because the power of choice has been a huge part of my life. And we all have a choice. Every single one of you on this call has a choice. You have a choice if you're going to thrive in this market or if you're going to be the victim of this market. You have the choice if you're going to be like, hell yeah, I'm going to take market share right now, or I'm going to sit back because this is too difficult. So this choice comes into play at every single level. I've been in real estate for 20 years. when I went through the 08-09 collapse, I worked for a luxury land developer at that time. So I sold people their vacation homes on the golf course and the ski hill. I went from that to going in and short selling their properties. The first thing that's going to go away when the market collapses is somebody's vacation home or their second home. These people, my clients, were very much, they were just making business decisions at that point. They were saying, hey, the property's gone down by this much. I don't have the cash flow. We're going to have to short sell it. I had a project that had 135 units in it. And at one point I had 50 short sells. The reason I share that with you is because it doesn't matter. That taught me one thing. It doesn't matter the real estate market. Homes are still always going to sell. It just might be the type of home that's going to change. So meaning you might have to pivot. You might have to pivot in terms of what your business looks like. Some of you guys might have gotten very comfortable with your SOI. And now everybody's SOI is in somebody else's database because they've been on Zillow or Realtor.com. You might have focused solely on new construction. I have a gentleman who works on my team that worked only new construction the last 3 years and just came to me and said, Spring, I'm struggling. My new construction's dried up. My land developers aren't purchasing and I don't have any business. So he's having to pivot to come into our world and do some internet and go back to the basics. So first of all, I would just tell you in any market that homes are going to sell. I've already said that. I've said it like 5 times, but I want to beat it down in your head. But that is the reality of where it's at. Gary Keller said at Family Reunion, and I don't care if you're a KW fan or not, I'm personally not at KW, but I respect him at the highest level. But he said that this is a do or die housing market for real estate agents, meaning you are going to have to do the work. And also he said that if you're doing the exact same thing that you've been doing, you're not going to succeed. So that means you've got to do something different. So I'm going to walk you through what we're doing different to succeed in this market. So are you guys in? Yes. A number 1 in the chat if you're in. Let's hear some yeses. So the first thing is, so this is so basic, you guys. I hate even saying it, but it's the foundation of all of it is you've got to have a plan. I know you're saying you're gonna be like, I'm on this Zoom and you're telling me I have to have a plan. But yeah, do you know how many of you guys are winging it? How many people wake up in the morning and they're like, oh, what am I going to do today? Or maybe you created your business plan in December and it's totally different than in June. So I would tell you that you have to sit down and create a plan. What we do is we break everything down into 3 months. So I don't think about what's going to happen at the end of the year or in 3 months it's strictly 3 months. Because I don't know about you guys, but last year when I made my goals, I wouldn't have thought in March interest rates were going to double. Did anybody think that was going to happen? No, right? So you have to start thinking about getting a plan, and we only plan out 3 months. Now, granted, yes, I do have man, this would be fantastic if we did this and an overall arching picture of where I want the team to go. So I do have a big enough vision, but I break that vision down into 3-month increments. So every 3 months, I will sit down and revamp the plan of where we're at based off of rates, based off of agents, based off of lead flow, all of that. So I would tell you guys to sit down and create the plan of where you want to be in the next 3 months. And then again, establish that in 3 months from then. Okay. The second component of this is you have to know your numbers. And again, I always dislike saying this because realtors are some of the most amazing humans. I'm one of them. I'm proud to be a realtor, but a lot of us don't get into this business thinking that we're going to treat it like a business. We don't get into it thinking of numbers and having to know our numbers. If you're anything like me, you guys, I was winning if at the end of the month, I had more money in my bank account than I did the previous month. Like that was how I was winning, or that I had a certain amount that I was like, this was my threshold that had to be a minimum in my bank account, and I was winning. So it wasn't until I got miserable about 4 or 5 years ago. I was like, man, what am I doing? Like, why am I doing this? Like, I started to build a very small team at the time. I was still in production and I was selling homes. They were selling homes, but like, anybody ever felt like you were in Groundhog Day and you felt like you were just like chasing the dill every single day? I felt like I started over, you know, and in sales, you go from hero to zero, right? 1 month you're having a great month, and then the next month you're in that space. And about 4 years ago, you guys, and I was successful. 4 years ago, I was selling probably 250, 300 homes. So it wasn't like we weren't selling homes, but I had one of my mentors and coaches. I called them and I said, you know, I think I'm just going to burn this shit down. I think I'm just done. Like, I'm everything looks so good. If you follow me on social media, it looks fantastic. My family looks great. The business looks great. And I'm so unfulfilled. And he's like, okay, well, what would it take to help you? Like, what would make you fulfilled? And I said, you know, I would love to have a little bit more time with my children, that they're not, I'm not running into their game, or I'm not telling them to be quiet in the backseat of the car for carpool, or that I had a little bit more balance. I would love if my agents were selling more, things like that. And so he said, all right, are you ready to treat it like a real business? I'm thinking, what do you mean, dude? I've been in business for 15 years. I've been one of the top agents in this country. I've received every award possible. And I'm like, what? And he's like, you don't treat it like a real business. If you really want to turn this into a business, like, you've got to know your numbers and you've got to get some leverage. So the second component, you guys, is you got to know your numbers. And you've got to know your numbers of when you start doing this, you can back into any amount of money that you want to make. And this is a fundamental part that we teach our agents on our team and that we use in our business. So again, how many conversations does it take for you to get an appointment? I know you're like, I have to track my conversations, but yeah, we are the only industry that thinks we don't have to do that. My little 17-year-old Jackson is doing door-to-door solar cells, knocking doors. Guess what his sales team's teaching him? How many doors he needs to knock to get an appointment set. Like, every industry teaches you this. So you've got to, like, we are the only ones that think we don't need to track it or know or increase your skill set. But you've got to know how many conversations to get an appointment, and then how many appointments to have a closing. So in my world, I know for every 7 appointments my team goes on as a brand new agent, they're going to get a closing. That's our average. And as a senior agent, it's 3. So I can back in to help them be able to figure out how much income they're going to make based off of how many appointments does it take for you to ultimately hit your goals. Again, this is where I want you guys to be really open-minded and start tracking this, because this is the foundation of how you can make any amount of money and increase your productivity. And then the next one is, how many leads do you need to have? I don't know about you guys. When I got into real estate, I had no clue what I was getting into. How many of you guys knew what you were getting into when you started selling real estate? Drop in the chat a number 1 if you were like, yeah, this is not what I thought this was going to be. I had no clue. I thought it was going to be, I had a sister-in-law. She's beautiful. She had this fun lifestyle. She had her cute little kids. She was buying some investment properties with her family. I was like, I want that life. I had no clue that real estate meant like, oh, you're in sales and the product is you. Because at the end of the day, what the consumer is buying is you. They're buying your services to end up helping them. And in the end of the day as well, I tell my agents this all the time. I want you to think about a doctor. A doctor goes to medical school, but he doesn't make any money if he doesn't have any patients. Or a lawyer goes to law school, but he doesn't have a practice if he doesn't have any clients. It's the same with a realtor. We go to real estate school, but we don't make any money if we don't have any clients. So the first of the thing is you're in the lead generation business, and then you're in the sales and service component of that. So how many leads do you actually need to be able to have clients? And the beautiful thing about this business that I love so much is there's not one way to do it. So I'm not coming on here and telling you you need a cold call, or you need to do social media, or you need to do open houses. All of those work. You just have to decide what you're willing to do and double down on it. This is the same too. If you're a team owner, you need to know how many agents you need to have. Like, that's the number one thing that drives revenue in a team is agent count and then getting them into production. But I won't hit on that today. So the fourth component, or the third component of this on the leads, is, you guys, there's not a lack of leads. There's a lack of lead conversion. So in the United States, on average, 125 million online leads are sold every single year. 125 million. I just told you earlier that 5 million homes sell annually. So if you do the math, that means that person is in 25 agents' databases. Your SOI, your Zillow lead, your realtor.com, your neighbor, your mom, they're in somebody's database. So when I hear people be like, I don't know how to get leads, or I'm not sure on the lead, or where do I get them? They're everywhere. They're absolutely everywhere. The key to it is lead conversion. And how you have lead conversion is this, is you provide massive value. So first rule of thumb, 1, if you are meeting them at an open house, or if they're an online lead, speed of lead is absolutely crucial. Meaning if you're an online lead, you've got to get to them within 5 minutes. And then you have to plan on that you're going to follow up with them at least 12 times. If you're meeting them at an open house, you're going to have to, when they walk out of the door, you're sending them the video. Hey, it was so great to meet you. I'm excited. Here's some properties we discussed, or whatnot. However your strategy is going to be, but you have to start creating that relationship. The second component of it is you've got to provide value. Stop spamming people. How many of you guys get those canned emails, or worse, that you're one of them that's sending the canned emails, but the emails are just that everybody's getting right now? How many of you guys, let me ask you this, how many of you guys go into your email on a daily and just delete before you even open? I'm seeing a lot of heads shake. Yes. Okay. Your SOI, your clients that you're nurturing don't want to be spammed by you. They have to think something different of you. So you have to send them something. I'm not saying don't send them something. You have to send them something of value. A really great example right now is Walt is doing this with you guys. He's providing value to you. He's providing value to where you're like, okay, I'm here. Thank you. This is great. So for your SOI, I just want you to think what could be of value, or the people you're nurturing, whether it's that you are sending them something they can't find on Google. So rule of thumb that we go with, something they can't find on Google, something that's new in the community. So new restaurant, or something they need to know about, something that's pertinent in the real estate market. Again, people are curious about their home's value, or homes that are selling in their neighborhood. You've got to dumb it down though. You can't be like, hey, home prices are up to 525 that's down by 6% and like, and we've sold 9,000 homes. Like, they don't care about that. They just want to know, hey, home values in your neighborhood are up by 10% or 5%. They don't know about the rest. So just keep it stupid simple. That's something that you would want to consume. The other thing on lead conversion is it's a long-term game. How many of you guys, drop in the chat if you've heard people say, get back to the basics, get back to the foundations. Like, that is the rule of thumb right now. One, yes, Angela, thank you, Mark. Everybody's talking about that. The reason of it is for the last 2 years, it's been like fish. You know how you go fishing and you're like out fishing and you're waiting for the fish to get on your line and you're reeling them in? Well, the last 2 years have been like fish just jumping in your boat. You haven't even had to like put it out there. How many of you guys went to, would sell a house, like somebody call and you meet them at the house and they might make an offer immediately for over asking price, hard earnest monies. I know you've all been there, right? And so that's not reality right now. So the reality is that these relationships have to be nurtured longer. And so that's when everybody's saying, hey, go back to the basics, go back to the foundation. It's not that it's anything different. It just is a longer term play. So you've got to make sure you have your CRM. You have to be making sure that you're following up at least 12 times and that you're providing value. And I'm not saying like, hey, you can't put your people you don't really know at a high level on an auto campaign. We have hundreds of thousands of people in our database. So I'm not telling you they all have to be personalized and whatnot, but your core SOI and those people that you're really working with, you've got to provide more value that they're like, I have a connection with Judy, or I have a connection with Heath, or I have a connection with Julie, like, and provide that value. And also be the person who provides the value when they're shopping the open houses. You are the product. So how you're showing up, as well as that, you know, that neighborhood and what else is out there. I'm telling you, you can take absolute market share if you start thinking of yourself that way. So the last component of this, of how you can take market share, is going to be the who. So we've got, you have to have a plan. You have to know your numbers. There's not a lack of lead conversion. And the fourth component is who. And what I mean by who is, who do you need to become in order to accomplish your goals that you want? There's somebody who's crushing it right now. And maybe that's you. And if it is, I'm like cheering you on. And if it isn't, I would take a gut check and say, how am I showing up? How am I showing up to my day? How am I showing up to my business? How am I showing up to my family? How am I showing up? And then who do I need to become, and who do I need to show up as in order to be able to have the results I want? I will usually tell, how many of you guys have interviewed a new agent ever and you ask them how much money they want to make? Do you know what the number one thing they say? If you ask a new agent how much money they want to make, drop in the chat if you know. The number one, how much money a new agent says they're going to make in this industry. It's the same over and over and over. Yes. $100,000, 6 figures. That is the number every single person, pretty much, unless they're used to making more money in their in a previous profession, they say they want to make $100,000. When they say that, I asked them, I said, okay, great. Let me ask you a question. Who do you know that makes the $100,000 in your world, in your life? And they'll usually do a little thinking. You see their eyes go and think. I'm like, okay, so does that person have a skill set? Like, do they have a profession? Are they good at something? Do they work full time? Are they working at least a 9 to 5 or 40 hours a week? Would you say that they're a professional or an expert in their field? And every single time they're like, yes. So I tell them, okay, it's the same in real estate. Whatever you want to make, you have to show up as that person. So if you're wanting to make 100, 200, 500, a million, 2 million, whatever that is, I have friends that make all of those numbers in real estate. It's 1,000% possible. But you have to be the person that shows up as that agent. So if you're wanting to make 500 grand a year or $1 million a year, How does that $500,000 agent show up? What are they consuming? How are they prospecting? Do they have a social media presence? Are they investing in themselves? You got to start thinking that way and then showing up as that person. The other who I would tell you is, who do you need to hire? Do you need to hire some leverage? If you're doing activities that are below your pay grade, then you need to look at that. This is a fun exercise. If y'all want to do this with me, grab a piece of paper and a pen and your calculator. And I want you to take how much money you made last year and divide it by 2,000. So how much money you made last year and divide it by 2,000. And if you want to share it, drop it in the chat. If you don't, that's okay. But how much money you made last year divided by 2,000. Okay, that is how much money you make per hour. So if you are doing activities that you are less than $90 an hour, you could pay somebody less than your $91.50. Congratulations, Tina. Then you might need to look at it and say, could I leverage this out? Could I pay somebody $15 an hour and I could stay in my higher income producing activities? So those of you that want to grow, I would encourage you to look at that and say, who should I leverage? Who should I hire? I'll tell you guys, I'm extremely leveraged, extremely. It's been the key to my success. Leveraged at home, leveraged in work, in business, because I can't do it all. And so I stay with where my sweet spot is, which is running the company. The third who that you need to look at is, who do you need to hire as a coach? I'm a huge fan of this. There's somebody who has done what you want to do, a coach or a mentor. So a coach or a mentor, who do you need to coach or mentor with? Somebody's done what you want to do. So Tony Robbins hits on this at a very high level. He says that you can circumvent years off of your journey by learning from other people's mistakes, of knowing exactly what they're doing, and you don't have to go through that process. So who is it that you maybe need to hire as a coach to help you go to that next level, that is somebody who's done what you want to do? I'll tell you guys, I have probably 8 coaches right now in just different aspects of my life. But in the real estate space, I have 4. And they're all they do different things. Like I have one that's like great for like the mental mindset of my team. I have another one that's helping us get our profitability up, because the bigger you go, the less your profits go if you're not careful. I have one for the investment side, and then I have one that's for operational. So I just challenge you to look at like if you want to make more money and take market share, who do you need to become? Who do you need to hire? And then who do you need to mentor and coach with? That's all I got, my friends. So was today of value? I want to hear if you guys will take 30 seconds and drop in the chat your biggest takeaway. So if you guys will take 30 seconds, drop in the chat, biggest takeaway, aha, that you received in the last 45 minutes. I want to hear from you all. And while you're doing that, Walt, I just want to thank you. Like this is how people grow, you know? So it's awesome.
Hey, thank you so much, Frank.
Okay. Ooh, I love this. Okay. So we've got need a coach or a mentor. Yes, Tina, for sure. I'd get purposeful too, of like what exactly you want to learn. And go find that specific coach. You know, don't just hire a coach, go get one that's specific on what you want. Be who you want to become. Claire, that has been the key to my world. Is every morning I wake up and I'm like, the spring that I envision in my head, I'm like, how does that person show up today? Do they go to the gym? What do I eat? What relationships am I nurturing? And it becomes very purposeful. And I can do a whole nother class on that at some point, but like it is 100% being purposeful, and you become that person. Reminder, have a plan. Yes, Denise, who do I need to become? Sharon, Ralph, who to become, who to hire, who to coach. Yes. Hire an assistant for the office work. Angela, yes. Like I'm telling you, nobody grows alone. So anybody who's successful in any business has a team of people, whether it's an assistant or a VA or whatever. Start where you need to start at. But I would tell you for sure, when you're ready and you have that leverage, hire the assistant. 3-month plan, the power of choice. You evaluate my plan and do it for 3 months. Yes, yes, yes. Make a plan for my business and me. I love that. You're in sales and the product is you. Yes. Mindset. You all get to choose how to live, make it exceptional. Make a decision. Your who do you want to become? A 3-month plan. You help reinforce the idea of numbers, track all activities, and the positive mental attitude of showing up. Yes. So you guys, you know how we track our numbers is we use a software called Sisu. It's sisu.co. It's specifically meant for the real estate space. sisu.co. And it has dashboards. It will also track, it will connect with your CRM. It will track your lead conversion, the ROI on them, your vendors. So like your lender and title, if you're working with them on anything, they can see the back end of what's happening. I mean, it's super powerful. So I tell you guys to check that out. To not settle, coaching, if you choose, make it exceptional. Thank you. Thank you guys so much for your time. I know it's valuable, so I appreciate you so much for having me.
Thank you so much, Spring. Again, you bring massive value. Do you have time for a couple quick questions? If we have any questions from the
Yeah.
group? You guys have any questions you want to ask Spring here? You've got an excellent opportunity to hear from one of the best.
Yeah, you can unmute yourself or drop it in the chat. And I'm a complete open book. So whatever you want to hear, let me know. What CRM? So Stephanie, I use Sierra Interactive. I don't believe one is better than the other though, just so you know. It's really comes down which one you're going to use. I know that that's like a cliche thing to say. So it just depends too. Like, I know some brokerages offer discounts because you have a corporate account or enterprise account. So I would tell you if you have that, like for example, the brokerage I'm at offers Chime at a very inexpensive rate. If I didn't have one, I would start with whatever was offered. But for me, we use Sierra Interactive. So Adam, any recommendations where to get started with coaching? I think it depends on what you're wanting. Hit me up. You can DM me directly. Find me on Instagram, you guys. Follow me, I'll follow you back. I love having friends. My Instagram's @RealSpringB. But if you shoot me a DM, I can see what you need and see who to point you in the right direction. That's my Instagram. We right now only coach team owners, how to scale their teams. And then we do have an agent coaching program that's a group coaching that's on Mondays and Fridays, but I will get you some direction of one-on-one if that's what you're looking for, agent coaching. What are the best things you leverage out in your personal life to spend more quality time with your kids and focus on your business when you're working? So Tiffany, when my kids were really little, I had a nanny that did pretty much everything, cooked, cleaned, laundry, all of it. I know that that's not 100% an option for everybody. It just was, for me, it made sense. Like I could justify her cost because I was able to use that time to sell more real estate. And so I think it depends on what you're looking for. Now that my kids are older, we leverage out the cleaning and obviously all the house stuff. I don't leverage out driving them, even though I probably should, because it's freaking commands half my life, it feels like. I tell my kids all the time, I'm a high paid Uber driver at this point. But that was a personal choice because my quality time with them is in the car. So you could just have to choose what works for your family and what you need, where you feel like you were like, I could hire somebody to do this and not have to take time away from my family. We're right now hiring a house manager, actually. So someone to manage the house as well as do the cooking, because my DoorDash bill with a bunch of teenagers, it might as well have a chef. And I know that sounds like a little bougie, but it's just the reality. So I'm like, I could have somebody come in and cook and actually cook real food than Chick-fil-A showing up for $50 multiple times a week. So that's real life.
One thing that always helped me was anytime that I was looking at whether it's hiring an assistant or any other type of activities, I would just jot down in my yellow pad here, literally for 1 week, I would jot down, if it was business, I would jot down everything that I'm doing on a minute by minute basis. I mean, literally, I screwed around on Facebook for 15 minutes, whatever. I put everything down on that pad, and then I start going through it at the end of the week. And then I realize all those things that are under my dollar per hour activity, I can have somebody else do. So that becomes their job role. So just easy. You can do that in your personal life. You can do that in your daily life. Just make those decisions.
Yep, I agree. So, all right, you guys, was today good? Yes. Okay. Give Walt some love then. Share with him, like give him a shout out. Walt, are you on social? Like, how are you?
Yep.
How are you doing this? Yeah. So give Walt some love, and yeah, appreciate you for putting this on. It's cool.
Hey, thanks a lot, Spring. Yeah. So next week we've got Todd Duncan, as I mentioned. Todd is really a guru in the mortgage industry, but he's really a guru in sales. He wrote a book years ago called High Trust Selling, and all of the principles in that are still applicable today. So please come to next week's 2023 lecture series, CMA-A-Day event lecture series. This again will be posted on the CMA-A-Day Facebook page. Look us up on social. Thank the loan officers that have invited you as well. And Spring, again, thank you so much. Cannot thank you enough. Have a great day, guys.
Thanks, guys. See you later.